All right, so today we are diving deep, deep into Dante's Inferno.
Ooh, Inferno.
Yeah, but we're not just talking about the fire and brimstone, right? We're going deeper, looking at the why, the how of sin itself.
I like it. I like it.
And we found this awesome YouTube video. It's in Spanish, actually, and it's got some really interesting takes on the second circle. You know, the one about lust?
Okay, lust. Everyone thinks they know about lust.
Right. You'd think it's all, well, infernal. But this YouTuber, they describe it as, well, surprisingly beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, like think golden statues of lovers, intricate carvings. They even mention gardens.
Wow. That's not the typical image of punishment, is it?
No, not really. But then again, isn't that kind of the point? I mean, this is lust we're talking about. It should be seductive, right?
Oh, absolutely. Dante knew what he was doing, you see. Symbolism was his jam, that unexpected setting. It's totally deliberate. It's like he's saying, look how easily we're drawn in by what seems beautiful, alluring, even when it can lead us to ruin.
Right, like that saying, all that glitters is not gold.
Except in this case, it's all that glitters might just lead to eternal damnation.
Okay, yeah, way worse than fake gold. And it gets, well, even more interesting because this YouTuber, they go on to describe all these like super specific details.
Whoa, but
So they talk about this tower of the flesh, and you can probably imagine what that looks like, right? But then there are these like strange purple rays just shooting out from it.
purple rays. Now that's just weird.
I know, right? And oh, and get this. Cleopatra's hanging out there.
Cleopatra, as in the Cleopatra. What's she doing in Dante's Inferno?
Exactly. It's like Dante just took everything we find tempting, everything alluring, and just like put it all in one place. Talk about a mixed message.
It's brilliant, though. It makes you think twice.
Oh, absolutely. It makes you think twice about a lot of things.
And it's not just random, you know? Each detail has a deeper meaning. Take Cleopatra, for example. She's not there just because she was,
A powerful woman.
Exactly. She represents that seductive power of lust, especially when it's all mixed up with ambition. Remember, she ruled Egypt.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, how often do we see that same dynamic at play even today?
Oof. Yeah. Like all the time.
Right. It's like that saying, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But in this case, it's more like lust corrupts and lust for power. Well, that corrupts absolutely.
Ooh, I like that. Very Dante-esque.
And you can't forget about Minos, he's there too, the judge from Greek mythology. Just a subtle reminder that no one, not even someone as powerful as Cleopatra, gets to escape judgment for their sins.
Intense.
Ooh, it gets more intense. And those purple rays, I think those are Dante's way of showing us how even fleeting moments of passion, they can have lasting consequences. Imagine being marked by those things for eternity.
Okay, now that's an image that's going to stay with me for a while.
Right. And just when you think it can't get any wilder, that's where Dante throws in his own personal drama.
Oh, man. Don't even get me started on Dante's drama. It's like a soap opera, but with eternal stakes. Dante's drama, right? Where were we?
Oh, yeah. The YouTuber really went there with the details. We're talking betrothed to Beatrice, then heading off on a crusade, then making a deal with Lucifer. Talk about a wild ride.
It's a lot, right? But what I find really interesting is how they interpret Beatrice's fate.
Oh, yeah, because she's not exactly hanging out in paradise, is she?
Not quite. They say Lucifer basically tricked her into becoming, well, let's just say his eternal companion.
Whoa, hold up. That's a pretty intense take, even for Dante.
It is, isn't it? But it adds this whole other layer to Dante's whole exploration of sin and responsibility. Like, is he seeing himself as a victim in his own love story, blinded by grief and anger? You have to wonder.
Right. It's like he's asking how much of our sin is actually our fault and how much is just, well, bad luck. Or maybe just bad influence.
Exactly. It's not so black and white, is it? Which, speaking of not black and white, brings us to probably the most famous story from the Inferno, Paolo and Francesca. Oh, yeah, the OG star-crossed lovers. Okay, so for anyone who hasn't read Dante in a while, we're talking about the couple who are literally just swept up in this whirlwind for all eternity, right? Madly in love, forbidden affair, things end badly, you know the drill. But here's the question the YouTuber raises. Were they really condemned for lust? Or just for being deeply, truly in love?
It's a question that's kept people talking for centuries. I mean, yeah, their punishment is harsh, but even in the middle of this never-ending storm, they find solace in each other.
It's true. You almost forget they're being punished, right? Which makes you wonder, can love, even a love that's considered sinful, can it actually transcend punishment? Like, is that even possible, even in hell?
It's a powerful idea. Really makes you think about your own definitions of love, sin, even redemption. Like, are those things even possible in the afterlife?
And speaking of definitions, we have to talk about how Francesca ended up in the second circle in the first place, right? The YouTuber specifically points out that she's labeled as lustful for an affair with her husband's brother. So scandal, much.
Oh, yeah. Huge betrayal.
Mm.
But they also highlight how Francesca and Paolo were just so drawn to each other, so consumed by their feelings, almost like they couldn't help themselves. Makes you wonder, whose definition of lust are we even using here?
Right, because is it purely about the physical act, or is it about the intensity of the desire, the way it can just take over, it makes you think?
And that's what Dante does best.
Yeah.
He's not giving us easy answers.
Oh.
He's making us confront the messiness of it all, those gray areas where love and lust get all tangled up.
It's like we're all kind of caught in that whirlwind sometimes, trying to figure out right from wrong and where our own desires fit in.
Totally. And Dante, he gets that. He's not afraid to go there, to those places where we surprise ourselves with, like, how strong those feelings can actually be.
Which brings us back to this whole thing about lust, right? Like, it's easy to judge other people's actions, but what about when we feel that pull ourselves? Ever been totally drawn to someone, even when you knew it might be a little dangerous?
Oh, absolutely. That whole internal battle,
Yeah.
reason versus desire. That's what Dante captures so well. And what I think is really cool about this YouTuber's take is it's not just about Dante. They bring in all this other stuff. Mythology, the Bible, even video games about the Inferno. Like, whoa.
It's true. It really shows how much Dante's work still kind of gets to people, even after all these centuries. Like, he really tapped into something, you know, something universal about what it means to be human.
Totally. And that's what makes these deep dives so great, right? It's not about just like remembering facts and dates. It's about asking those big kind of scary questions, trying out different viewpoints, maybe even challenging our own ideas along the way.
And speaking of challenging ideas, something the YouTuber said really stuck with me. They were talking about how a lot of people just see the Inferno as this, like, simple story about punishment. But when you really get into it, especially with all these extra layers they're bringing in, it's so much deeper than that.
Right. It's like he's holding up this mirror to human nature, showing us what happens when we make certain choices, not just in life, but in, well, the afterlife too.
And maybe, just maybe, if we look at those consequences, if we really get how seductive sin can be, well, maybe we can make better choices ourselves, right? Choices that lead to good things, not to, our own personal infernos.
Powerful stuff. And it still matters, even now.
So there you have it, the second circle of lust. It's not just fire and brimstone, folks. It's about desire, about temptation, about the choices we make when faced with all that. Huge thanks to our amazing YouTuber for taking us on such a thought-provoking journey, and to you, dear listeners, for joining us for this deep dive into Dante's Inferno. We'll be back soon to explore another circle, so stay tuned. Until then, keep those brain cells firing, and thanks for listening.